Welcome to the Perspective Podcast. Josue here. As you guys probably already know, from the Democratic Republic of Congo, I attended the Oral Roberts University. I preach at times, but we're not really here to talk about that. And to my right, we have a man who was born in Texas, North Texas to be exact. He attended University of North Texas. He's an aspiring philanthropic creative, and it is December 28th, and he still loves very long walks on the beach. Why that is? I'm hoping we're able to find that out tonight. Chase Brown, how you doing?
Doing good, man. I wasn't sure if you were gonna forget my name there or not.
No, I was saving it to the end.
Yeah. Change it up.
Yeah, I'm a professional.
You got to keep them on their toes. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I'm doing pretty good. Holidays were good.
Mm.
Christmas was good.
Yeah.
My parents basically gave y'all more presents than they gave me.
We appreciate the Browns.
We got a robot for a trash back there now.
Yeah, I think it's huge. Low-key.
It is. It's great. But no, and then a new coffee. What do you call it? Coffee maker.
We should trade that one in for Oreos or something.
Bro, we better be getting like 1,000 Oreos.
We would.
Minimum.
We would. Yeah.
Minimum.
I'm down with that.
But I don't know. I'm sure one of our guests today will enjoy that new coffee maker though, since he'll be making his tea all day.
True. So, I've heard about this.
Yeah, but yeah, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. I didn't really get any presents this time around, unfortunately. I don't know. Maybe I didn't pray enough. Maybe I didn't fast enough. Maybe I didn't do enough works. Who knows? But all I know is I didn't get enough presents this time around. And guys, I was just a joke, Christmas joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to keep the kids on their toes.
Yeah, I keep the Christmas kids on their toes, the Christians on their toes. So,
Yeah.
But today we have a very special episode for you guys. Whenever we have these podcasts, we try to bring on a special guest, and today we're doing something special on top of something special. So our guest for tonight, we just flew him out from Jamaica. It's kind of crazy. Everybody's talking about this. He's a 5-time Jamaican Artist of the Year. He's a 4-time Most Influential Circuit Rider of the Year. He's a 3-time Mr. I Wear All Black and I Don't Care. He's a 2-time Mr. Longest Hair in the Bible Study Group of the Year. He's a 1-time son, child of the living God. Ladies and gentlemen, if we can please get a hand clap going. We have Mr. Danny Bryan in the room.
Well, go on, man.
I was going to say something else, but I was like, nah, I probably shouldn't say that one on cam.
No.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be here with the boys.
Yeah. Thanks for pulling up, bro. We appreciate your ministry.
Yeah, man. We're excited for you to be here.
Yeah. And as I was saying, we also have a special guest, not to cut you off. We have our very own Mr. Rose here on set with us. And he was very excited. He even brought out his yellow, not yellow.
Neon green?
His neon green socks, just really representing. So,
yeah, the brightness that he gives to the world. Yeah, represent that. He's a light to the world. Yeah.
He's a light to the world.
I love that.
And this man drinks a lot of coffee and tea from what I hear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How you doing, sir?
So, yeah. How are you?
I'm good.
What are you doing here?
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous.
About?
My socks.
Oh.
And y'all could pass the mic back and forth too if y'all really want. I mean, y'all are basically brothers.
But it like adds flavor, you know?
Yeah.
You know, hey, just wait. The first time I watched the Foggy episode.
Yeah.
And when you introduced Foggy like that, like I thought it was all true.
What do you mean?
Like when you would just say all nonsense. Like
Nonsense?
what you just did.
It ain't nonsense, bro.
Nonsense. That was
It's
where's
subjective.
the nonsense?
Yeah, that was.
You said you flew him in from Jamaica. This
I mean-
man just came from Florida.
I mean,
It's
close
halfway
enough.
there.
Yeah, that's close enough.
In that same
Yeah,
area.
it's
same
over
area.
there in the area. All right, guys. Maybe he didn't fly in from Jamaica, but you get the point. Y'all been listening long enough.
What
You get
was
the
it? What's
point.
it called? It's called hyping it up, I
Yeah,
guess.
hype beast. Yeah,
Sure. Whatever.
yeah.
He ain't got the
None of
shoes.
us, right? Ain't
We ain't got the shoes.
The cameraman got
Hey,
the
there
shoes
you go.
for it. Yeah, you actually see what the cameraman got on, but we'll talk about that later.
Shout out
on.
Ronaldo.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Y'all didn't hear he said it's the church.
Swipe the
money.
card.
Yeah. He don't even tithe no more.
Dang, dang.
Anyways, Mr. Danny Bryan, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great.
Yeah. So you came in from Florida,
Yes,
not
Florida,
Jamaica, just
not Jamaica.
for clarification.
Yes, thank you, Miles.
There we go.
Or Lani
Good.
Rose.
Holidays and all that, all good?
Yeah, very good. Saw the family. My parents are missionaries in Panama, and my brother and his wife live in Atlanta, Georgia. And then my other brother lives in Kansas City. So we all came together in our home state, Florida.
Yeah. Amazing, man. Yeah, that's good because everything that you were sharing over social media and whatnot looked like a ton of fun.
Oh, it's fun.
So-
Especially my niece.
Oh, yeah?
She's the cutest, 9 months old.
Mm,
Just the best.
adorable.
Yeah.
Dang, adorable.
Uncle Danny right here.
Uncle Danny.
Number one uncle.
Number one.
Yo,
Wow.
I can see Danny being a fun uncle. Yeah. He would throw the kids all up in the air and stuff like that.
Yeah,
He got them
I'm a
muscles for that.
funkle. For sure.
Fun.
Okay. I guess that's what they call it.
Wow. That was intense.
Yeah.
Huh. I'm still trying to recover from that. Wait, hold up. Pause. Cameraman, can you zoom in on Mr. Rose? What are you doing here? I'm trying to figure that
Dude,
out.
I'm trying to figure it out too.
You're just here?
Yeah. Chase was like, ask him a question when you start.
Okay. So what's the question you want to ask Mr.
I didn't
Bryan?
have a
Yeah.
question to ask.
So I guess good transition.
No,
So,
that was a good transition. Ask us a
So I
question,
guess
please.
so we're
I'm
here.
ready
What,
for
it.
yeah. What would you like to ask your older brother, Danny Bryan?
You guys do look kind of like.
Yeah. Why do you dress so good?
That's not a valid question. I'm still piecing myself together. I just got some white sneakers on, some Express pants, a thrifted shirt, and a thrifted jacket.
That's pretty fashionable.
I guess I have a follow-up question. Where'd you get so much swag from?
You.
Dang. Wow. That's crazy.
Just see his face. Oh,
Yeah, that went right to his heart.
I
It
know.
it
was
really
like,
did.
Wow.
He felt that one.
Ooh.
Wow.
It's genuine.
Yeah.
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 Just bring it before the Lord, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put it on one of those sticky notes in your room.
Yep.
Yeah.
The room that you got to clean.
Okay. Do you have another question you want to ask him by chance?
Not right now.
Not right now?
I'll think of one. And then
Oh, all right. If you think of one, you can come back and all that. Yeah. So,
Oh,
I mean, you got to go make your music.
Miles has some deep questions, though. It's going to spark.
Yeah, you guys have a conversation.
All
Yeah,
right.
there
Let's
you
go.
go.
Yeah. All right. Let's go. Cool. Are you good with that?
No, yeah, let's do it.
All right,
Kick us
cool.
off. Kick us off.
So, yeah, whenever we were talking on the phone earlier today, we were kind of throwing around some ideas to potentially talk about. And yeah, I think one of the things, I mean, granted, to give some background, us three have only known each other since May
Correct.
through our Tuesday morning group. Rose, you met Danny, it was in March too, or May
7th.
as well, right?
May 7th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was at was it the Black Voices event or Circuit Riders
It was
tour?
a Jesus People tour. So it was a
Okay.
Circuit Riders tour that we went on
Okay.
in the late spring. And yeah, that's where I met Miles.
Dang.
Lani Rose. Sorry.
Dang. But it is what it is. But no, so it's been crazy thinking about it, of us only knowing each other for like 6 or 7 months at this point. Granted, it does feel like I've known you for a lot longer than that.
Same.
And you've definitely poured into our lives more than an average person would in 6 or 7 months. Like, it's been a lot, and you're a man of wisdom, love, and just someone who's able to articulate things in the way that I think is in line with the Father's heart.
Oh.
And so I'm just interested, like, in terms of your journey and how you would say you got to where you are today. What's kind of the 5-minute version of that? And you can start wherever you want, if you want it to be childhood or when you got saved, anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to credit a lot of my journey to my parents. My dad is like he calls everyone friend. He's the nicest guy you'll ever meet. And my mom was she really modeled what a relationship with Jesus looked like. And I went to church, and not a knock against church, but what I saw in my home was so much more impactful, because it was the day to day. Every morning I woke up to my mom spending time with the Lord, and it's something that really provoked me even when I was very, very young. And it's like, if there's one thing I wanted, it was something that was authentic, something genuine, something that was real. And it was something really special for me to see it in my parents sort of modeled out. So it really did start in the home for me. And then probably since the age of 6, I was like, okay, let me just in any way possible, just glean from my parents. And then at the age of 12 is when I really like, okay, God, I really want to like actually do life with you. I want to walk in relationship with you. And I just remember I was reading the Bible, and you sort of noted wisdom. The thing that I sort of read first was like Proverbs, and it's like sort of, it's actually very interesting to me, wisdom, just talking about it. But I actually asked the Lord for wisdom. Like I said, like, okay, if wisdom's like gold, if it's like treasure, like, let me just ask the Lord for it. So it's something I did ask the Lord for since a very early age. And then it really did guide me throughout my life. I'm not perfect by any means, but it was really helpful just having wisdom and making certain decisions and as I walked throughout life. But I grew up homeschooled, and when I was around the age of 15 or 16, I felt an impression to go to an actual high school. And I told my mom about it, and she was like, "Yeah, I like, let's just see what the Lord does." And there's this visual and performing arts high school that I felt like I needed to go to, called Indian River Charter High School. And so I went there my sophomore year of high school, and that was an incredible experience. I grew up playing music, so I played piano, classically trained, and I went into playing jazz piano, and I did art as well. And then during that whole while, I sort of had a context called the House of Prayer, which was a ministry that I was a part of where we would just do worship sets, so like 2 hour sets around the clock. And I'll play keys, I'll lead worship. And it's in that context where I really learned how to pretty much meditate on scripture, to pray, to like actually go into deep relationship with Jesus, commune with the Holy Spirit, those type of deep spiritual practices. That's where I really learned in that season while I was in high school. And then I went to college, and I went to go to a ministry school, but the Lord had other plans, and so I really was like, okay, I think I'm going to college. And like I thought, like, college is a place where you lose your salvation, or
Yeah.
everyone's going to hell in a handbasket. That's what the fear was, and people said. But I really felt strong from the Lord that I was supposed to go to college, and me just having presumption, I thought I was going to actually pursue music since it's a thing I was mainly doing my whole life. But I remember I was like going towards becoming like I was going to study piano, and I was wanting to become a film composer. So to write like music for film. And I remember I got to the audition, and I really felt like a very strong impression that this was not the way for me. And I remember I botched the audition entirely. And I've been doing recitals and auditions and performances my whole life, so I knew it wasn't just like a stage fright thing. And I like really inquired of the Lord, like, God, what was that? And I just felt the Lord just say, like, this is not what I have for you. And I was like, okay, then what do you want to do? Like, what do you want me to study? And I felt him highlight like emerging, like graphic design. And so there's a degree called emerging media, specializing in graphic design. So I did everything from traditional art to just design to storytelling, video, photography, 3D animation. And then that led me to do that whole experience for 5 years in college. And I was part of a lot of ministries in Orlando, Florida. I went to University of Central Florida. And then I pretty much, during that time in 2014, I ran into this ministry called the Circuit Riders. And I was like, what in the world is Circuit Riders?
Yeah.
They sound like a motorcycle gang.
Hey, it's fun.
I was like, these are people that are really like driven to share the gospel with anyone that they came in contact with. And that was something I was trying to work out in my own life. It's like, man, I really want to be able to articulate the gospel. I really want to have the boldness and the courage to share with my friends, the people I come in contact with. And there's a bunch of young people doing that, and they weren't weird. It wasn't like they're just normal people, but they had such a desire to see Jesus known, and they did it through music, through media. And I was like, this is like my kind of people. And then I was part of a community house in Orlando, Florida that just walked out the culture of Jesus. We had a Thursday night gathering every single week, and we saw people saved. We saw people like sharing the gospel that just got saved. It was amazing, 50 to 60 people every single week. And then in 2016, I went on a tour, a university tour called Carry the Love with the Circuit Riders as a musician. So every single day we did a night service, worship, message, gospel, and then we did practical training of how to continue that on the second day. And so I did that for about 3 months, and then I ended up moving to California to join Circuit Riders full time. And then I've been doing that for the past 5 years, and there's a lot that has happened in those 5 years.
Yeah, a lot that's happened, and then a lot you're an oversight of too, which is crazy. So,
you know, I think about like being in a position where you're in leadership or just involved within ministry. How do you? I guess this is just how do you avoid doing ministry? You know, because it's like I got to do this. People got to get saved and all these different things, and not lose your relationship with the Lord, because it's such an easy thing.
Yeah.
Because it's like, man, I'm getting people saved. That's good enough, right? God's like, I didn't ask you for that. I mean, he did, right? Go make disciples. But at the same time, there's that relationship aspect that we shouldn't ignore. But I feel like sometimes when we work in ministry, it's easy to ignore because you're getting people saved.
Yeah, that's such a good question, because I think you love the Lord so much.
Yeah.
Like, it marks you a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in just some very... It's when you're sort of brought to situations where you can't navigate on your own, and Jesus has always been there. God's leadership has always been so prominent in my life. It's just like that's the only way to navigate. And I think in the context of ministry, and I guess like the undertone is like burnout. How do you like do ministry and not burn out? How do you like stay connected? And I feel like a lot of times there's a lot of separation that happens when it comes to like ministry and the normal life, but everything's connected. And it's like we have the opportunity to involve God in every aspect of our life. It says that Holy Spirit teaches all things. So I remember even in college and high school, I was asking Holy Spirit, what should I draw? What should I paint? How should I communicate this? And so I think just me treating God like a person, like a friend, really helped me sustain my relationship just through all the years and up to this point. And I know like my life isn't perfect, and I've had very hard seasons, and like when like the rubber met the road, like at the end of the day, I knew what bled from my heart is that like I love Jesus. Like I know that he's 100% for me, and I can't deny that. I think that's like, I feel like this is a whole thing of like, how surrendered can we be? And it's like a lot of times we like to hold cards in our hands or not put all the eggs in the basket. But when you actually fully surrender, like there's no other way to turn. It's like, I'm already this far. I got to see this all the way through. And so like, I've never been failed by the Lord. There's been a lot of things that go beyond my understanding, but he didn't promise understanding. He promised peace that surpasses all understanding. And that's always been with me.
I think it's interesting. I think if I remember right, I shared this at the retreat where I was at this lunch back in October. It was actually a week before we went on the retreat. And it was either Matt Chandler or Jonathan Paloka shared that basically if you don't rest, then either one of two things are going to happen, and that's the only options is either moral failure or burnout. Like those are the only two results of that. It's not like you're strong enough to get through, and just like if like maybe I rest like a little bit, like no, it's like those are the only things, and it wrecked me, because I think sometimes like, at least for me, I think like rest is an option, and it's just like I guess I could get through this, or like okay, like I can still get the job done, and just maybe the quality won't be like exactly to what God wants, and kind of things like that. And so I think it's interesting that you bring burnout into the topic, and then from there go to surrender. And so one of the thoughts I had is like, for you, is there any sort of relationship between rest and surrender? Is like surrender necessary for you to have rest, or some? I don't know.
Yeah, I think rest is more of an inward quality than an external one, because people can say they're resting and still be restless.
Hmm.
And so I found like most of the time, like God is trying to actually have us encounter rest. And that's not our definition of what rest is, that's his definition. And he says, come to me, all who are heavy laden and burdened, I'll give rest. And so it's something that first comes from him. And so and when you look at the lifestyle and the ministry of Jesus, Jesus, even though being fully God and fully man, he drew away, and he actually was refreshed by the Lord. And I think that's one thing to sort of consider is like, how are we defining rest? Is rest like just at home by yourself watching Netflix all day? Is rest like you walking through the park? But I feel like rest is really found in the presence of God, and spending time with him. And so that's why I was trying to say that rest is kind of like an inward reality and an inward inward reality of what comes from the Lord altogether.
Yeah, because I think we find, is it in Hebrews 4, where the writer talks a lot about like the rest that comes from like faith alone,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
it's
3
like,
and 4.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Do you have those off the top of your head, Pastor?
Yeah, it says
He's got like half the Bible
it says there's
memorized.
still a promise for us to enter into his rest, right? We need to enter into his rest, unlike those people, because they didn't do it by faith.
Mhm.
You know, so there's still that promise for us to enter into God's rest by faith. So, yeah.
Dang. Yeah, it's just interesting because it's something that I've definitely thought a lot about. It's just like, I feel like, because like Miles, you and I have actually been talking about it in terms of like Sundays and like watching football, and me just being like, hey, like, I feel like this is like the only time that I like turn my mind off.
Yeah.
But I think that sometimes I have this like misfire in my brain that like turning my brain off equals rest whenever it's like not true.
Yeah.
And I've been feeling at some points like what you're talking about is like you can still be restless within like physical rest. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
No.
All right, it's my turn.
Go, bro.
Yeah, no, that's really real, bro. Like, I mean, even as you're saying a lot, I'm having so many things just come up right now. Thinking about with rest, and we were at I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago at Mercy Culture there at Axel, and Pastor Jasmine was talking about rest being in every direction. Like it just sat with me really deeply, because I was like, I feel like for a while the Lord was telling me distractions have become my rest, and I wasn't even aware of it, but I just knew like the thing that at one point, playing Call of Duty all the time, like at one point, not all the time, but like as a point of recreation, was restorative to me. Before I knew what his presence was like, but it's like after his presence, it's like nothing would satisfy this void that was there. And then now it became it's almost like a battle of awareness for me, or no, not a battle. It's more of a maturing thing. Like as I mature, I just have to admit to myself that this isn't working. Like these distractions aren't working. And I know we talked about it a bit. I was like, I can't. Like I have to stop watching football. I have to stop doing certain things, because the Lord straight up told me through a prophetic word through somebody, like, you're just being distracted. And I was like, yep, convicted. And so, yeah, no, that's real, bro. That's real.
Rest. I think it kind of makes me think of like Sabbaths and how we kind of view that. I know I don't have it all figured out or anything like that, but I know sometimes I'll speak with friends, about their Sabbath. I'm like, it almost seems like they can't even leave the house. You just sit there the whole time. And I'm like, I may not understand the word fully, but I don't know if that's what it means. If you don't do a single thing. That's what it means to be in Sabbath or rest. Maybe that is, and I just I haven't figured it out. But I think it's a interesting topic. I would say it's definitely something that I've tried to learn and grow in, because I feel like I was always on the move doing something.
It used to be. You still are.
Yeah, it's got a little bit better now. I get some time to myself
Yeah.
now.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. But I know earlier we talked about circuit riders, and for some of us that may not fully understand or even know what all that entails. So, what would you say is circuit riders? And I know you mentioned they had a really big part in your testimony. So,
Yeah, so circuit riders, it's kind of the hardest thing to explain because it is constantly growing and just evolving into so many different things and functions. But in simplicity, Circuit Riders is a nonprofit missions organization. It is considered to be Youth with a Mission, YWAM, which a lot of people do recognize that name. And so we have a bunch of young people. I think our community, as right now, is close to 300. So that's a mixture of student and staff. And so our mantra, so to say, is save the lost, revive the saved, train them all. So we really do prioritize sharing the gospel, training people on how to share the gospel, and not just in the fundamental way of like communicating it, but also how can we express the gospel through music? How can we express the need to go and missions through music and media? How can we convey this message to the masses? And then we have various ways on how we equip people to be leaders and to lead out, not just in charisma and rhetoric, but really like operating in wisdom, and great character and authority, and just knowing the gospel and being trained in their skill set to do so as well.
Yeah. And you got like 10 different brands that you're like
20,
an oversight of.
20.
Yeah.
that's a lot.
So yeah, what's some of those things that God's been able to give you the ability to be involved with? You can mention however
Yeah,
many.
so one of my main roles in Circuit Riders is as a designer, which is interesting. Like, oh, you're a full-time missionary. He was like, yeah, I'm a graphic designer. And I also help creative direct and bring leadership to various areas in the realm of music, or in the realm of media, but then I also do music as well. So we have everything from like a prayer room in Circuit Riders. We have music projects that are sort of, there's a collective of artists within Circuit Riders, and that's called Circuit Rider Music. Then we have a few training schools. So we have like a summer intensive school that is like 2 weeks, and we do like maybe 6 of those each summer in America and England and Africa. And then we have a longer training experience called Circuit Rider Experience, CR Experience. And that's more traditional to a YWAM model, which they do 3 months of a lecture phase and 3 months of pretty much mission, going somewhere else, and pretty much doing everything that they've learned in the past 3 months. So that's 6 months altogether. So our version of that is that we do 3 months lecture phase in Huntington Beach, California, and then we pretty much send everyone out on a tour called Carry the Love Tour. But that expanded this year. Now there's a Brave Love Women Tour, so that's an expression within Circuit Riders where we see women empowered to love radically and to share the gospel. Then we have another movement within Circuit Riders called Black Voices, and that's to see people that are Black, that are in Black communities, from African diaspora, from Africa, to be trained and equipped to share the gospel and really like give them a lane in missions, because sometimes it looks very narrow in the traditional expression and definition of missions. Yeah.
So I was thinking about.
He always laughs before he did.
I love it. I'm a
It's
laughing
great.
guy too.
Okay, let me figure this part out. So where does the name come from? Because I'm trying to imagine like you guys as a leadership team coming together. Like for some reason, I'm seeing a bunch of Ferris wheels. Like that's in my mind. That's what's going on right now. So I'm like, how does this work?
I know some people think we say circus riders, and then some people hear circuit. And so it is Circuit Riders.
Circuits.
And so this is not actually a new thing. This happened earlier on in Americans' history. So there's this guy who's from England, John Wesley. He really wanted to see the gospel proclaimed in America. And so he came to America, and there's this other guy named Francis Asbury. These are some like old school revivalists, and they weren't too polished. They had a few messages in their toolkit, so to say, in their messenger bag. and they had the simple gospel and just had some like simple practicals and how to start small gatherings and to gather your region and to empower people. And so they did that back, and I believe I'm gonna butcher this, maybe in the 1800s.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, and pretty much they did circuits all throughout America. And so that's where the Methodist movement sort of came from, because simply it was a new method. So they went all across America on their horseback, really just sharing the gospel. And that's how a lot of America even knows who even Jesus is, because of what Francis Asbury and his small team sort of led out back in the 1800s. So it's kind of crazy. So it really is derived from that.
Yeah.
Never thought an 1800s guy would be informing a name of a very influential and impactful missions organization
Yeah.
in the 2020s.
I was gonna say something about 1800s, but never mind.
I like the self-control. You've been saying never mind.
Sometimes I just think about things. I'm like, nah, that probably shouldn't go on air. That's not the way to go.
We'll just leave that over there. Yeah.
We'll leave that one. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
So, what would you say is been the things that's impacted you the most in circuit riders? Whether it be like various times with the Lord that you've had while you've been with circuit riders, it maybe hasn't been like affiliated with like a time that like you were leading a prayer set or something like that, or if it is something with an actual event.
I mean, probably the most impactful thing was the leadership that came from Brian Brent, who is the founder of Circuit Riders. Kind of wild, but he just passed away about 2 months ago. He's like my mentor, spiritual pops, coach, all of the above. And that was a really hard season for us. But the way that I saw Brian Brent empower people is like something I've never seen before. To entrust a whole region to, 18 to 22-year-olds, to equip them with everything that he has in his arsenal, and a little bit about Bryan is that he suffered an autoimmune disease that attacked the lungs. So just on a normal basis, he had about a quarter lung capacity when he was speaking, when he was traveling. And so there's so much hardship that he endured and went through and pushed through. But he was the most joyful person you will ever meet, the most empowering person that you would ever meet. He never complained, and he always had a smile on his face. And he led with such radical faith, unction, courage, and boldness. And so it really did trickle down from his leadership, but it really did in the best way possible. In fact, all of us who are part of Circuit Riders to lead out in that same way of empowering young people, empowering people in general, to really saying like, you have an inheritance in this as well. Like, this is not just for, the few, this is for everyone that wants to see the kingdom expand and go forward. And one of the main things that marks us is we have this word to be like a Barnabas, a brother of encouragement. So, it's so funny. Even though like our recognition is sort of getting a little bit bigger right now, like we still don't have a building. We live in community houses. So we live, missionary lifestyle in Huntington Beach. I know, like, how can you be a missionary in Huntington Beach, California? But we pack out sometimes 12 to 15 people in a house, lower rent. And we have one office space in Huntington Beach, and that's where we sort of mobilize so much from. But we normally work out of coffee shops and everything like that. But yeah, it's just the whole idea of just seeing a generation equipped and sent has been impactful to see. And I can write a whole book really on just just all the different tours that we've been on, the experience that we had, God really showing up and moving in power. Like the person that you thought was the furthest one away from the gospel, getting reached by the gospel and really radically changing their lives. And the music that's going out. So it's just been a whole long history for me of being impacted every single moment, every leader that I'm surrounded by, which are some of my best friends in the world just challenge me and just spur me on every single day to be more in love with Jesus, to be in the Word, to be a man of prayer, to be a leader who leads with just radical humility and servant heartedness. So that's a lot, but that's still like a small glimpse.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's probably, I don't know, maybe, I'm just guessing. Maybe you've had moments where someone says, hey, Danny, you should try out this other venture, or why are you giving so much time to this? Why not look into something else?
Yeah.
You're a missionary in Huntington Beach with, just different situations. So what keeps you going? What keeps you, I don't know, it's an easy question, right? What keeps you going? What keeps you motivated to do what you're doing, and want to be excellent at that?
Yeah. I mean, it's going really to the word of the Lord. And I think that's something that needs to be spent. People need to spend time to actually discern what that is. And like I said, like when you throw all of your eggs in one basket, you don't know another way to navigate. And so that's where I've been. So the last thing that the Lord really did speak to me, and the impression that I felt, was to join Circle Rise, to join with what He was doing in Southern California, what God was doing in Southern California. And I haven't heard like a different thing yet. So my thought is to be fully invested until I hear otherwise. I remember I was talking to the Lord about this a few months ago, and it was like it was stemmed from a place of frustration, because I feel like I didn't have like a real resolve. I feel like I was giving like my answers half-heartedly. Like I was like, man, like where's my conviction? And I said, Lord, make me a man of full conviction. And when I said that, it just sort of clicked of how a lot of times we don't really fully benefit from the season that we're in, is because we are in reservation. We're not fully, going back to it, surrendered. And so I was like, God, I want to be fully convinced that what I'm doing is what I'm supposed to be doing. And all of a sudden, it wasn't like there was any like crazy like moment that happened, but I finally just understood that this is a yes I take full responsibility for. And like, because normally people do ask me a lot of times, like, when you're going to go into the industry, like you're talented, when you're going to do something else. And I was like, oh, you never give like a straight answer, like, and like, I always like just try to make up stuff. But now I'm like, no, I'm in Circuit Riders fully. That has my full investment. This is what the Lord had told me last, and that's what I'm committed to until He says it otherwise. It's not meant to be like extra or, pointed at all, but it was so great to be fully convinced of my yes. So that's it. I'm just really following what I feel like the Lord is saying.
Yeah, I feel like that's a great place to be. Because it is easy to sometimes lose resolve in certain things, and it's like, and then you start going through the motion. So it's good to be reminded to come to a place where it's like, nah, this is where the Lord has me, and I'm gonna be committed to this. I feel like I've had those like heart checks in various moments, various times. So,
And I'm gonna throw a guess out here, and you could let me know if this is totally off, and whatever you want. I feel like part of that resolve has to do, because it's funny, it's something that came up in my mind a few minutes ago, but has to do with, I think, you understanding sonship really well. But also, and it's funny, I was talking with Chaz about this like last week, which was a question that we have, which we're kind of like exploring, is like, for you though, is like, you understand the authority that comes with sonship. Like, because there's a different level of authority that you have whenever you're a son versus whenever you're a servant. And with us having, going back to it, like the inheritance part with Jesus and everything that came along with His sacrifice, and the Father adopting us into the family and giving us an inheritance through Jesus, it's something that is just like, okay, I have that sonship, I have this inheritance, but then I also have things that are active in this moment, like both responsibilities, but then also authorities that come with that. That's different than like a servant relationship. And so I guess, yeah, would you say that has anything to do with that? Like, or even would you say you even have, well, yeah, I guess you can answer that real quick.
Yeah, I think that's identity is very, very important. Just knowing your sonship,
Hmm.
because like true humility is you agreeing with what God says about you.
Mhm.
If you
Facts.
sort of like deviate
Hmm.
from that,
Wow.
it becomes either false humility, which is pride, or just pride, which is pride.
Pride.
And I've just learned and faith is just taking God at his word. And so I'm trying to become less hesitant and less double minded, because all it does is make me waver. Like, you talk about the swirl, like people's like, what am I doing? And I feel like
Mhm.
every person's trying to find their purpose, find who they are, and self-help is not really helpful these days, because God is leader. Like he's an author and perfecter. And so if he's carrying the blueprint, why would you go to a second or third party resource to actually identify who you are and what you're supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, we think that God is always going to lead us into comfort, but rarely do we know that, and rarely do we know of someone that grows in comfort. And so, like, we have to think of more of the reality of a soldier, a runner. We are actually being refined to actually endure.
Or even like the early apostles,
Yeah,
like with everything they had to go through, including like all the
Yeah.
travel of going to places I'm sure they
Yeah.
hadn't been to before.
exactly.
Like, dang, man. And that all creates endurance and just all of that.
Mhm.
And it's interesting because something that because I'd been reading through First and Second Corinthians, and then I read through Romans, Galatians, and then now I'm in like Colossians and Thessalonians. Something that I thought I saw a lot through like First and Second Corinthians and then Romans, as well as like the importance of just like love.
Yeah.
And that I felt like just loving people was such like a central theme to all of those and so consistent. And so then like the question came in, is like, okay, so like what is like priority? Is it loving others or is it like purpose? And like what is the relationship between like the command to just love others and then love purpose? And then in like Colossians 3, I think it's like Colossians 3:17, it talks like he's like, yeah, or it's at the very end of the letter. It might be at the end of Galatians. Y'all go look it up yourself, please. But basically, at the end of the letter, Paul is just like, yeah, I'm sending this person to you so that you can fulfill the ministry that the Lord has set before you.
Yeah.
Which isn't purpose is inherent in that. And so it's I don't know. It's just an interesting dynamic whenever it comes into like authority and purpose and all this stuff that we're trying to find, of how it's a dichotomy of like there are specifics that the Lord sets, but at the same time he is like so much of simplicity that we just
Yeah.
like overcomplicate it.
Yeah. I mean, the highest that the Lord has for us is this. Are you guys ready? Are you ready? You falling asleep?
No.
Just kidding. But is to love the Lord your God with all of your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love your neighbor as you love yourself. If you were to really pay attention to that, because that's the first and greatest commandment, and the second commandment is just as holds that caliber as well. Like that transcends occupation and location. Like we minor on the major and we major on the minor all the time. And the whole time we were just creating a very bad noise. Like we're clanging cymbals, because God says, if you don't know my love for you and you don't actually think about that, you're not going to have love to share with other people. And then that's also the second thing that I want you to do. I want you to love people well. And you can be a janitor and still be fully successful and right in the will of God. Or you can be the president of the United States and be fully successful and right in the will of God, and has less to do with theatrics and more with heart posture and like your inward belief of who he is, what he says about you, and what you're saying yes to, which is the first and greatest commandment. And I believe everything is a natural flow from that place.
Yeah, I mean, we've minored in the major and majored in minor, which is kind of crazy because it's, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. That's the constant question. Like, why am I here? What's my purpose? And there's always this thing of trying to figure all this stuff out. And I think about like the early church. Obviously, it was in a different environment than we're in right now. But I wonder when the shift towards occupation became such a big deal that we put everything else to the side. Because now I joked about it last a couple podcasts ago where it was like, people. It's always, why are you sleeping? Someone's making money. You're not thinking about it. There was this video where this guy was like, I wake up at 5 a.m. I go run 7 miles and I come back. I eat breakfast. I make my bed. I go back out and run another 7 miles. I come back. I fix my bed again. And so he was just trolling, right? But it's like you scroll through Instagram and you just see these people giving these tools of you being successful, and there are these routines. And as you said, like it brings us to a place where we're just majoring in the minor things. I heard a speaker, man of God. He said, how do you phrase it? Because like, people always come up to him and they say, "What's my purpose? What's my purpose?" He's like, "What do you mean? Like, go make sure people are getting saved. Go make sure the gospel's being preached, and then just find a job and do it. Don't complicate it. But I think for the sake of like us minoring in the major things, we've kind of switched it. First Timothy 1:5 says the goal of our instruction, is love from a pure heart, sincere faith, and a good conscience. And I was like, wait, the goal of all of this, all the commandments, all of the word and whatever, is love. And I was like, whoa. And yet here we're worried about like, what's my occupation going to be and all these various things. So, we're monitoring the major thing and majoring our, however you said it, sounded better than how I'm saying it.
Yeah. And I mean, Romans 13:8, like the law is fulfilled with love.
Yeah.
And I mean, like embedded in that, I mean, yeah, like Jesus fulfilled the law. So like we're no longer bound to the law and everything along those lines. But it was funny because I was talking with a friend about this earlier today. But it's just interesting because how God just thinks of everything in that. He's just like, hey, like Jesus fulfilled this law. You're no longer bound to it. Like it basically, it's in the grand scheme of my covenant with you, like it's irrelevant. But still, he's consistent in who he is, in the fact of like, hey, but still in the way that I'm going to establish this new covenant, and the way that I'm going to speak with like y'all Jews who are in Rome. Guess what? Even this new thing is fulfilling this old thing that you place in so high of esteem and regard. And so still, even with that, it's just like shows the consistency of the Lord. Going back to something we talked about earlier of like, I think that in the way that the Lord speaks, consistency and steadfastness is just such a key thing where he's never going to speak in conflict with himself. And it's interesting because I mean, him and his character and the dichotomy of him, he's able to hold two ideas that are seemingly in conflict and true at the same time, whether it's like justice and mercy and other things. So it's interesting, but I'm on a rant right now. But no, it's just love is such a key thing. And it's interesting how through all of this and everything from beginning of time until now, it's just the Lord's intimacy with us and his love for us that then allows us to grow. So,
and growth is the goal. And in order to get growth, it's going to happen in ways that we never expected, and it's going to happen in both the grief and the glory. I feel like a lot of times we forget that. We forget that a real cornerstone of the faith is like found in John 15, and that's abiding in Christ, abiding in the vine. And the whole process of, I was like actually doing a little deep dive study into John 15, 1-5 with a few friends. And when it talks about abiding in the vine, like first off, he says, I'm the true vine. So that if there's a true vine, there's probably a counterfeit. And then you read other places in the Bible, it talks about a root of bitterness. Not just a root that causes bitterness, but it's saying this is a poisonous root. And so we either will have two sources. We'll either have a source from the true vine, have a source from that thing that is poisonous, and will literally produce bad fruit. But it talks about, in a very intense way, that those who are of the Lord, our sons and daughters, will get pruned, and those who reject the source will have to be cut off because it's a dead branch. It literally cannot produce fruit. So God desires us to be faithful and fruitful. Faithful and fruitful. And if you know anything about pruning seems so counterintuitive because it looks like it's counteractive to growth. You know, so it's like, why would you cut a plant to grow a plant? But it's like you actually don't cut a plant to grow a plant. Growth in that sense wasn't the goal, but you prune a plant to produce more fruit. And that's a crazy thing, that God actually wants us to be fruitful. And the normal procedure to like pruning something is to shave off 80% excess, to cut off 80% excess and leave 20% of the branch.
Jeez.
Of the whatever, which is kind of crazy.
That's letting go of a lot.
It was like, oh my goodness, there goes your Nintendo. But and we have to let God be the leader in that, really. And we can't make up our own plan or our own like system of discipline. Like Jesus, like, no, like I will lead you if you allow me to. It doesn't mean us listening at the beginning and then shutting off the radio. Because what if Abraham just heard God okay, sacrifice your son Isaac, and he wasn't continually listening? That would have been bad.
Yeah.
And so we can't just listen one time and then step away, and then we have to listen the whole way through if we really want to be instructed in a way that will produce fruit.
Yeah, no, I think that's because it goes on to say that the Father is glorified in us bearing fruit. It's it's one of those crazy things about even the discipline part. It talks about in Hebrews how discipline leads us into a place of looking more like Him, being set apart. The word He uses is holiness, so we may be partakers of His holiness, and that comes from Him disciplining us. That comes from a place of Him leading us and directing us and all these different things. And so, that pruning process is not. Oof,
I know,
man. It's it's an interesting part, but I think it's so necessary. So necessary because we come into the kingdom, we have just all sorts of things and ideas, and we can't function well unless those things are cut off, those things are removed, so we can better be set apart for what He's calling us to. And is your neck okay? Oh, you thinking?
Just casually getting wrecked over here.
Oh, I thought your neck was hurting. I was like, while he's doing that, what size shoes you wear?
I wear size 12.
12. Okay.
What?
Yeah. 12.5 probably.
Okay, you can fit into a 13 like us. Yeah.
You fit in size 13?
Maybe. Why, you got me some shoes?
I actually do.
Oh. Okay. Hype beast. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Comes full circle. Dang. Okay. Well, we got to wrap it up here.
Yeah.
We got to start to land the plane at least.
Yeah, start to land the plane. Man, so I really been waiting a long time to ask you this question. And I know a lot of people have reached out to me to make sure that I ask you. So how long does it take you to grow your hair, Because I'm also trying to make a comeback myself, so I'm trying to, grow my hair as well. Yeah, I'm slowly and surely on my way there. So,
well, just like growth, you have to embrace some awkward seasons. So I started growing this in December of 2018, which is kind of crazy.
3 years?
3 years.
Yeah. But you probably can, and it depends. Everyone grows their hair at different rates, I imagine.
By the end of 2022, and they'd be like Samson.
Samson?
Yeah, that's the dude from the Bible, right?
Yeah.
He got his hair cut off.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have a girl, too, who's going to lead you to fall?
Oh.
Hey. Don't put that out there. what are those?
Okay, we just break that off right now.
We remove that name.
It's okay. You live in here, so we're gonna keep you accountable.
Yeah, we're gonna be prayed up in this house.
No
Delilah.
You keep me accountable. I'll keep you accountable.
Man, we can make that happen.
That I know.
Goodness. Okay. Last question for me is, And it's funny because it's kind of related to something Mike said last week of like how grandpas or dads always say, this is the most important thing. This is the most important thing. Like this, meaning what you're going to say, it doesn't need to be the most important thing because there's other things that can be. So don't feel pressure. But yeah, what would you say is like the most important thing that you feel like the Lord's put in your heart to share with people and for the Holy Spirit to lead you in sharing, but also leading by example in?
Man, that's a good question. That's tough.
Yeah. Which, I mean, with this, I mean, you could go to like some of your mantles or whatever you want to do that you have.
Honestly, like one of the main like passages that has been like reoccurring in my life is in Philippians. And it talks about doing nothing from selfish ambition or conceit.
That's just like life verse.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Yes. And it's like, and this is in context, Paul, like being imprisoned. And he says, if there's any encouragement in my affliction, anything they can do for me, have the same mind, have the same love, be of one accord. And I learned that, a lot of times we prioritize like worship, and we want to worship the Lord, yes, through song, but how can our lives be worship? And Proverbs 6 talks about 6 things the Lord hates, 7 things that he detests. That's poetic emphasis, saying pay attention to the last thing especially. That's the seed of discord sown among the brethren. And Psalm 23 talks about even how unity
Commands a blessing.
And it's a worship. Fragrance. Every see fragrance in the Bible, it talks about that is worship unto the Lord. It pleases the Lord. And so Philippians 2 is very impactful to me. And so if there's anything that I would say is to really strive for unity. And that looks like you dying to yourself, you considering your brother's opinion more significant than your own. You really saying like, God, I want the full expression of the body to be, brought to the surface. And so it's like making way for people. And I think there's so much that will happen when the church becomes not the false unity. I feel like here's one thing that I would say. I feel like a lot of times we mistake conformity or conforming for unity. And the only thing that we should be conformed to is the image of Christ, but we've made it conformity not to the image of Christ. We made it to the image of tradition, the image of religion, the image of Western culture.
Image of our leaders that are our role models.
Exactly. And I feel like the Lord's like, hey, like true unity is not everyone looking the same or acting the same. True unity is everyone being fully empowered in their unique strength that has been designed by the Lord, coming together and working together.
Yeah.
And so I feel like a lot of things are on hold until we actually see that manifested on the earth. So I feel like that is one of the things my heart really does long for, and just it beats for us to see that really like known, grabbed by a generation and let out.
I'm trying to remember where it's at. I'm pretty sure it's in Peter. He talks about this multifaceted grace that's given.
Yes. Some of the grace for hospitality,
correct. Yes.
to speak.
Yes, and that's found in when the brethren, as they call it in the Bible, right?
Mm-hmm. And the sisters,
Everybody. We're brides. You guys get it. But that's found when unity is present. You see the multifaceted grace that God gives, and I'm like, I want to see that more.
Yeah.
I want to experience that more within the body.
Yes.
And hopefully we can push more towards that, however that might look like,
Yeah. And have I talked to you about our idea of like shallow unity versus true unity? I don't think we've had the opportunity to talk about that.
No.
We'll talk about that in personal time. I just love that you shared that. Cool. Any last encouragements?
No, man. We appreciate you coming out.
Pleasure.
Yeah, I think just as you mentioned, just being able to pour into others. At times I've been in the Bible study group. Whenever I heard you speak, I was like, wait, who's this guy? I was like, wait, let me stop and listen to make sure. And it really just, what Chase was talking about in terms of wisdom and the time that you spent, knowing the Lord is really just evident to all of us, so hopefully that's an encouragement to you to just keep, pressing in even more, as they say in the church, or pressing in, whatever that means. To keep pressing in even more. So, yeah.
So thankful by the grace of God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so thankful to have this opportunity.
Yeah. And, bro, it's interesting because something that just came to mind was like a lot through Galatians. In Colossians, it talks a lot about walking in a manner that's worthy of the Spirit and worthy of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
But I think something that you do so well in that is speak in a manner that's worthy of Jesus. And I think that's like a key part of that is often overlooked because we think it's just like a physical manner of walking around or even like body language. But speech is like a key part of the manner in which we walk. So yeah, man, it's, your speech is impactful and it's going to continue to impact a lot of people. So keep it up, bro, because you're in the midst of a lot of work.
Gonna make me cry.
Nah, I won't, bro. We can't. You still got 3 more days here.
Oh, it's true. So
it'll be good. And we're excited for your time here in Texas. So it's going to be fun. But
Longhorns.
Hook 'em. Hook 'em. There we go. Love it. That's a perfect way to end it.
Joshua is like, I'm out.
I mean, you and y'all's Yellow Eagles, y'all could just chill over there.
Yellow Eagles. We are the Golden Eagles, sir.
Maybe to you.
Oral Roberts' Golden Eagles.
Maybe to you.
UCF Go Knights.
See, they're the Golden Knights. Y'all are the Yellow Eagles.
How are we yellow? It's Golden Eagles. What are you talking about?
There can only be one gold team, though.
Wait, but they're Knights.
They're the Golden Knights.
No,
you guys are Golden Knights?
Go Knights.
Go Knights.
Go
Knights.
Yeah, like go,
Go Knights. But it's just UCF Knights.
I thought y'all were the Golden Knights.
No.
Okay, whatever.
I mean,
we'll talk
armor
about
is
this
gold.
You're just not good with colors.
We
Black
gotta
and
go to
golds are
dinner.
colors.
We gotta go see Richard and Kirby. So
Okay.
that'll be a wrap for us today, y'all. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Be linking all of Danny's information in the description below, like normal, so you can go support him, circuit riders, everything that he's doing. All of our information will be in the description below as well, so you can support us, the outreaches, the podcast, and everything that we're doing. Danny, thanks again, bro.
Love it.
Until next time, much love. God bless.